They are invisible wounds carried by our returning soldiers. Our next two guests are here to break the silence on these wounds and discuss the toll PTSD is taking on Canada's veterans. So, joining us now for more, Corporal Chris Dupee. He is a veteran and founder of Military Minds. And Padre Phillip Ralph. He's a program director of Wounded Warriors Canada. And we're happy to have both of you guys here in our studio today.
Great to be here, Steve.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Well, we got the Padre and the Corporal, so let's just find out a bit about your military experience here. Padre, how long you been in?
23 years.
23 years. You're from originally where?
Oh, originally from Toronto and live in Whitby right now.
And why'd you get in?
Got in to make a difference, and I've always had a great respect for people in the military, and joined, as many people did, the reserves, many years ago to make a contribution to the community, and have, enjoyed a career dealing with some wonderful men and women.
Is this guy one of them?
I've known Chris for a few years, and
Tell
pretty
me
good
about
guy.
you, Chris. Where are you from?
Originally from Newmarket, Ontario. I joined in 2005.
How come?
What's the famous answer there? I got lost on the way to college.
Okay.
But yeah, that, same thing as everyone else. You kind of feel the pull and you want to make a difference and stuff like that.
As you look back on your experience, on balance, positive, negative?
Absolutely positive. It's one of the best things I could have ever done.
And yet, not completely positive. Fair to say?
Fair to say, but I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. So, I've kind of taken my negatives that have happened and turned it into a positive with the work that I do now.
Well, let's find out more about that, because I guess it's a few years ago you were diagnosed with PTSD.
Yep.
How come? What do you think happened that gave it to you?
Mine was more of an adjustment rather than a traumatic event, if you will. So it was fitting in. When I came back home, I actually took a posting to Toronto afterwards, and that was when everything was just like, right? So,
what was happening in your life that made you think something is amiss here?
I was drinking. I've got 4 beautiful little daughters as well, so I was seeing them get affected. My wife. Everything was just kind of crumbling around me, and to which point I pretty much put my hand up and said, I'm messed up. What do I do?
So you literally were just unable to cope?
Yeah, and I was taken out of my environment in Petawawa with all my friends and whatnot, and I was put in Toronto, right? So I didn't really have the safety net of my friends to vent with and joke around. So it was a bit of a shock looking back. Not at the time, I was just going through it, and that's pretty much how mine came about.
You guys are groomed, though, to be tough SOBs, right?
Yep.
How hard is it to ask for help?
Oh, it's extremely hard. The military's built on being tough, and better than another unit or another section, and so on. So to be that guy to put up your hand and say something's wrong, it's a hard hurdle to get over mentally, right? Because you're very afraid of what your friends are going to think of you, mostly at a peer level. That's the biggest hurdle.
Padre, what kind of stuff have you seen post-Afghanistan with our returning troops?
Well, I think in the next number of years we will see, as the Ombudsman has said, an upswing in, post-traumatic stress and other operational stress injuries manifesting themselves, and because for some people they notice right away. Some people, it for some reason just percolates there for a while, and the symptoms take a while to be recognized by others, and then most importantly by the individuals, and of course, as Chris has said, it's then getting yourself to the point where you think, hey, I need some help, and sticking up your hand.
You've been in it for a couple of decades, though.
Yeah.
Is there anything different about what the troops are coming home with today versus 25 years ago?
Not really. You can go back to Somalia, Rwanda, some of those. The most famous soldier to come out of Rwanda in public with his post-traumatic stress is Romeo Dallaire.
Sure.
And if you tour, the battlefields of France, I'm sure that many of those things were there as well, and you know, Korea and all conflicts, because it, you know, PTSD, operational stress injuries, mental health issues, you know, can arise for a number of reasons. You know, the resiliency that the individual has, who they are, what their worldview is, and sometimes one of the I think least explored categories as to some of the causes, et cetera, is it's kind of a moral injury. And
A moral injury?
A moral injury.
How so?
Well, I guess the simplest way for me to describe it, I could go into a longer explanation, but a simple way to describe it is it's kind of like the old cowboy movies. You know, when you take what a soldier does, he's the guy with the white hat. We all, you know, everybody, the wonderful men and women that, you know, I've served with and that they joined to make a difference, to make things better. So when they go and they're trained and they're positive, and you have to have that positive, you know, it's not a natural thing to run towards trouble and to go towards the fight. Most of us would want to stay out of danger, and soldiers have to sometimes enter into very dangerous, so that they have that confidence and that swagger and that training. And they're kind of like that old Western movie where they got the white hat and their job is to deal with the guys with the black hats.
Let me ask that to you, Chris. Did you embrace the danger that came as a part of your job?
Oh yeah. You practice to be a soldier for so long, and so many exercises, endless, and you finally get the chance to be one. You're very anxious to get in the fight. Absolutely, yes.
Here's something that you said to Canadian Military Family magazine. You said, "What bothers me is the coming home factor, the gray area. Overseas, when you're on tour, everything is black and white. That echoes tenfold with the people that we talk to." What do you mean by that?
Black and white means, you know, especially at a non-commissioned level, you know, at many levels it goes up, but all your decisions are made for you, from where you're going to patrol to what you're going to wear on a daily basis, right? So when you come home, there's so many decisions to be made about bills, about timings, everything, right?
So you're not prepared for it?
No, it's very easy to get overwhelmed by that and just shut down. And yeah.
So do you miss being in Afghanistan?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Did you prefer being there?
Yep. You know, it's a constant craving from almost any soldier or service member that I've come across in my line of work. They all miss it because everything just makes sense there. Everything here doesn't make sense. It's frustrating.
You know that is, forgive my language, that's ass backwards from what most people think, right?
Yeah.
They
Oh,
think
yeah.
this is a sane country, and they think being in Afghanistan is complete insanity.
Yeah.
You got it the other way around.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you appreciate that?
Oh yeah,
conundrum?
yeah. I definitely appreciate that. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, you know, when it comes to us. But yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that wouldn't want to go back in a second.
Is this typical? This what would appear to the rest of us as a kind of a disconnect between?
Yeah, well, what Chris said is, you know, you train, and after a while you want to do what you've been trained to do. And you know, going back to the white hat, black hat kind of thing, you're there. You're going to make a difference. You know, you know, the old movie. You're going to rescue the damsel, make the town safe. So,
I hear you, but
so you go over to.
It's
to
harder
make,
today,
yeah.
though, because you might have the white hat on, but the other side doesn't necessarily have any hat on.
Keep switching hats.
Right.
And that, when I talked about moral injury, that's where some of your view of the world and your view of yourself as friends get wounded, some get killed, things happen to you. The situation changes, and then you come back home and you're trying to put things back together. And I think some of what Chris has said about, you know, being more comfortable there because there's that routine and there's various other things. And what Chris has said, for instance, about a regular force full-time soldier who comes back, and he talked about, you know, his experience coming from Petawawa to Toronto. That's a further huge exacerbation for reserve soldiers because they augment. And then they come back to Mississauga or Swift Current or somewhere, and they're the neighbors, the society, the people around them have no understanding. If you come back to Petawawa, well, at least for a while, you've got your team, your guys around you, somebody who can share that experience. But Not so much if you're in swift current.
I'm going to ask you some personal questions here. If you don't want to answer them, you just tell me, okay?
Sure.
Are you married?
Yes.
Still to the woman who is the mother of your children?
Yes.
Did she want to throw you out with all the difficulties you had?
I've spent a lot of time out of my house. Absolutely.
You have?
Yep.
And how is it that you've kind of put the pieces back together?
I don't know. A lot of give on her part, I guess. You know, she was with me through my whole meltdown, and you know, we still got problems till today, but you work through them.
Is it your hope that someday, and I don't know if this is the right word to use, but that you will be cured of whatever it is that's been afflicting you?
What's a cure? There's no cure for this. In my findings, if you will, it's all about peer support. You know, everybody's got a cure, and everybody wants to sell what they've come up with. And there's lots of great ideas out there, but at the end of the day, finding somebody who's going through the same thing as you, and relating and talking with that person, that does wonders. So.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
31. So you're not too old to go back in the field if you are well enough to do it. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah, no.
So is it your hope someday to do that?
My time is done from the military. I'm still in. I'll probably get my release date next week, to be honest. But it'll be a constant craving probably for the rest of my life to do that. Not in a crazy psychotic kind of way, but it's just everything made sense over there, like I said.
Are you a good dad?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I take pride in being a good dad, for sure.
And were the kids scared of you for a while when you came home?
There was one point when I hit the wall. I punched a hole in the wall when I was in Petawawa, and I had to tell the kids that I hit a spider, you know, and I had super strength. Sorry. But yes, there was a definite sense that they were scared of me at some point. Yeah.
That's got to hurt.
Yeah.
When your kids are afraid of you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is it better today?
It's getting better. You know, my symptoms are few and far between now. I'm getting better.
What are you still dealing with in terms of symptoms?
A little bit of anxiety, I guess, and what do you call it? I'm kind of a hermit, if you will. I don't really go out much. You know, I keep secluded into my house, and you know, sitting here doing this interview with me, you wouldn't really know that I'm not that much of a people person.
It's exactly what I was going to say. You're perfectly charming, well-adjusted, wonderful guy here.
But in situations, I try to avoid certain stuff.
It's pretty
Absolutely.
common. You know, the withdrawal into yourself. You know, is common with a lot of these guys, and I mean, one of the things, I mean, at Wounded Warriors Canada, the innovative programs we have and the diversity that we have is, you know, a lot of them are aimed at building communication skills back. Getting people comfortable with transitioning back to, you know, the rest of Canadian society and being comfortable there and doing those kinds of things, and it's important because you know, it's, as you said, you're with your military family, your military team, your buddies. You've spent all that time with them, and now you know, it's a hard step to reintegrate, and then the transition skills that you need, everything from you know, employment skills. Being an infantry soldier is not the you know, the most employable skill on the market today, but they have a lot of wonderful traits about loyalty and integrity and a whole bunch of other things that the military builds into them, and those transition skills and marketable skills, you know, working on to them. There's a lot of the programming that we've come up with and we're concentrating on, and you know, wonderful guys and gals, and you know, they've got a lot to offer to Canadian society.
Chris, I got about a minute left here, and I just want to ask you this. Do you think the Canadian forces, the military, the brass, have an adequate understanding of this challenge that you're dealing with?
Yeah, I think they understand it, but the delivery is kind of all wrong in the sense that the message has to come from immediate supervisors and not just from the top. So the trickle-down effect, it's not exactly happening. So they could talk all they want, but you know, it's different if I hear it from a commanding officer than if I hear it from my sergeant or master corporal kind of thing. That's kind of a big deal. So it's all about who you hear the message from. Because I could sit there in a CO's parade or whatever, and he can go on, and we're just going to roll our eyes all day long. This guy, right? But if your immediate supervisor, someone who knows you directly and can actually look you in the eyes and say, "Hey, man, are you all right? If not, I got someone you can talk to." That's where the message has to come from.
I thank both of you for talking to us tonight.
Thank you.
Really helpful to our understanding of this whole thing. Thanks so much to Corporal Chris Dupee, founder and director of Military Minds, a corporal in the 3rd Battalion of the RCR, and Padre Phillip Ralph, program director of Wounded Warriors Canada, regimental chaplain to the 32nd Combat Engineer Regiment in the CF. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.